Welcome back to We Know Scripted TV, where today we know Star Wars Skeleton Crew Episode 6 and Episode 7. My name is Grace Leeder, but of course, I'm not alone. I'm here with my friend Owen Jedi Knight. Owen, how you doing?
I'm good, Grace. Happy New Year. I know we missed last week, but good to be back here in the cockpit with you and our special guest as well.
Yeah, last week's episode was called Zero Friends Again. So we just took that literally and we didn't podcast. But now we're back here this week for Episode 7. And yeah, with an exciting guest, we're here with Dwight. Dwight, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for inviting me, guys. I've been enjoying the show so far, so I'm glad to talk about it with y'all.
I do feel like the buzz around the street in the last few weeks has been like Star Wars Skeleton Crew is very good. I feel like we really liked the last episode that came out, but I was seeing a lot of buzz and praise about episode 6, Owen. And then I thought this episode was also very good as we near. This is what we like to say around here, the penultimate episode heading into next week's finale episode. So the show's been very good, I think.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that that's still the word. I mean, you and I have been pretty high on it the entire way. Obviously, there's been some ebbing and flowing in terms of the pacing, or some episodes feeling a little more set up-ish, if that's the technical term. But yeah, I thought these last two were quite strong, super fun, and I'm excited to talk about them with y'all.
Before we get started and we dive into Skeleton Crew, I just want to take a moment to hope everyone in LA is doing okay. Obviously, there have been, and even by the time we're recording this, I believe there are still wildfires happening out there. I know that Hollywood has sort of, there's been a lot of Hollywood, and even actually outside of it, has been thrown into a little bit of a delay, a production. I know like Jimmy Kimmel got delayed. I know even there was a New York premiere for a movie that obviously the stars of that movie live in Hollywood, so that was on delay. So just hoping everyone is doing well. We are going to put in the show notes links to where folks can donate. Obviously, we love television and movies around here, and it's not possible without all of the people in Los Angeles who make a lot of that stuff happen. And so hoping, and if you're a listener as well, hoping you are okay and safe. And yeah, I just wanted to start off with that, Owen.
Yeah, great note, Grace. And yeah, it's been a weird start to the year. I mean, candidly, the reason I didn't record or feel like recording last week, obviously after the terror attack in New Orleans, that was a really crummy way to start the year. And our friends out in Southern California are experiencing not something similar, but something equally horrible. And it's hard. And you know, I think it is really nice that we have this community where we can talk about our silly little shows and all these things that we love and kind of get away from it all. But I'm sure I am not the only one who's felt a little overwhelmed by the magnitude of what's happening in the world over these past couple months. So yeah, listeners out there, you're not alone. And we'll put some links in the notes if you want to donate to the New Orleans Relief Fund or to the LA firefighters or wherever, if you feel like sending off, you know, a few dollars here or there. I know it helps me feel like I'm doing at least a small part to try to combat all the things, all the bad things, the dark side of this world, I should say. But
you're balancing it out.
Exactly. We're bringing balance back to the Force the best way we can. So yeah, it's been a rough time, but I will say this show was a really nice departure and like a nice escapist thing for me. And not to be too ham-fisted with the transition, but genuinely this show has been kind of a high point and a nice way to just bring back some of that like boyhood, childish kind of energy back into my sphere. So I've appreciated it for that.
Yeah, I think the last episodes have been really fun. I feel like it's as advertised in terms of being sort of a romp adventure, kids in space. Jude Law as Jedi / villain / whatever. We're going to find out what he is. So we're going to talk about episode 6, Zero Friends Again, and then episode 7, we're going to be in so much trouble. We're going to do that with you, Dwight. And the thing I wanted to start off with is, I know you're a Star Wars fan, but do you want to, talk about where that began, what you gravitate towards in Star Wars, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so I wasn't actually always a Star Wars fan. I kind of like when I was like a kid, people like watched the old movies, like Sebastian fans. I wasn't a fan at the time. I kind of just became a fan. I think around like end of middle school, beginning of high school. It's like, okay, I'll start watching them. Became a fan of the show, or not show, like the series. Watched the new movies when they came out. I know the Star Wars fandom was just like, some of these suck. I'm just like, I enjoyed them. I wasn't like a hardcore fan the whole life, so I enjoyed the new movies. Now I'm just like, it's like looking back, it's like, I see why people had problems with it. You know, like I kind of get it now. I'm enjoying the Disney Plus shows that they come out with. Andor was good. Which was the other one? Oh my god, not Andor, but
Mandalorian.
Not
Mando,
Mandalorian.
there's the Acolyte, the more recent one.
Yeah,
Acolyte.
Acolyte too. Yeah, those are good. So yeah, just this one came out. They announced it, like I'm gonna watch this one too, and I've been enjoying this one as well. So like that's kind of where my fandom is. Not the level of like super fandom, but like a good fan of this of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's okay. There's a lot of pressure on Star Wars fan. I feel like it's like this is a safe space to be a Star Wars fan, even a new Star Wars fan. Sorry,
yeah, we're not going to haze you or anything. And what year were you born again, Dwight?
2000.
Okay, because you're in that weird kind of spot where the prequel trilogy came out when you were like too young to really consume it. So you're kind of in that like Star Wars dead zone almost. Because like for me, I grew up on the VHSs, and then the Phantom Menace and stuff came out when I was like in elementary school or whatever. So it's kind of like perfect. Whereas,
guys, I do know what VHS is, by the way. Before anyone asks,
yeah,
I know what a VHS tape is. Just saying.
Jeff Probst would be so proud. It's like when he was asking all those goofy ass questions on Millennials Gen X. Do you know what this is? But yeah, it's I'm glad to hear you've taken to it. And obviously Dwight is like famously in the kind of nerd archetype, like I was on the show. I know. Not to typecast you, but
the first time Dwight's learning of this.
Yeah, this is news to me. Ignore the Pokeball on my shelf right here. Like, yeah. So true.
But yeah, it's funny because Star Wars is one of those things that it's like so ubiquitous, but it's also like can be so niche and like depending on how deep people get into it. But I feel like these Disney Plus shows have been super accessible and just fun.
Oh yeah,
agreed. What have you been finding? You said you've been watching along since the beginning. How have you been finding Skeleton Crew, Dwight?
I've been enjoying it a lot. I think it's a good show. Like it's going into it, I was like, okay, this is more like a kids oriented show, and like I can see it is, but also like I've been enjoying the show just in general. It's been pretty good. We have like I said, my thing so far is like this droid is like God's strongest soldier. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, he just wins everything. What the hell is this? What the strongest droid in the franchise? But that's kind of just a joke I've been keep seeing on the show in my watching it. But I have been enjoying it a whole lot. So it's super fun. These episodes too have been enjoyable. I really like the what's his name, Jod.
Jod, right? Yeah, by Jude Law. Yeah,
I do like the whole plot with Jod going on like a pirate crew whole with the kids. It's a fun little plot. I like it.
I mean, theoretically, yeah. Sorry, Owen.
I don't blame you for forgetting his name because he's got about 9 names.
That's true.
Exactly. I was like, which one is the actual one here?
I call him Jude Law most of the time. I don't know.
Yeah,
Silvo, Jod Lanawood. Yeah, he's got a plethora of names.
One of them, right? Yeah.
Crimson Jag. Yeah. Yeah, I do think maybe in terms of like there was some hesitancy, I think, from people about the show because they thought it was like fully a kid show. Some hot takes. Despite George Lucas's best interest to make everybody interested in like trade routes and like Senate seats, Star Wars has kind of always been for children. Andor, I feel like is like the most adult version, and I do feel like to a degree. Like post the prequel trilogy, like once, like which there was a big gap between content from there. The next stuff, like maybe it felt more adult-ish, but it's always been a thing that like, kids do watch. But I feel like having the show be so specifically like this is for kids, I think has like really hit the mark in terms of like what Star Wars does really well and creating entertaining television. Like all of Mando and Grogu is about a grown man taking around a baby, or escorting a baby. Like that's what it is. So yeah, but I'm really enjoying Skeleton Crew. I'm excited to talk about both these. We're gonna kind of talk about all of them together. We're talking about both episodes. We won't go into one over the other, but I do think together they're a good episode because the last place we left off was with Jod having betrayed the kids and leaving them in the cave, and they're going to get out of that and they're going to sort of split up. But at the end of this episode, Jod looks real ready to throw down. And he looks yielding the lightsaber towards all of these kids and their parents.
Yeah, it looks like Anakin at the Jedi Temple. It's you don't know exactly what he's gonna do, and I kind of appreciate that he's going full villain here. I mean, you and I have speculated like, oh, he's gonna have this moment where he can rescue the children and let the money fall off a cliff or whatever, but like he's leaning in at this point. And maybe we might get there, but I do appreciate that they're not really pulling any punches at this moment. He's gone. He looks savage and he looks really scary, and he's like got this look in his eye now that he's seen the mint, and he was like letting the money cascade over him. Like he's gone full dark side, as it were, right now. And
he
so,
did kind of go full Scrooge McDuck first, but
yes, Scrooge McDuck.
that's
He
one of the
really
other
did.
names. That's one of the other aliases he goes by. Okay, Dwight, I am kind of interested because I feel like the biggest mysteries of the show that Owen and I have been talking about is there has been like what is at Aden? What is it secretly there for? It does seem like for the most part it is legitimately a mint, although we definitely could. I feel like the new one is kind of like the supervisor is now kind of like the mystery. Who is the supervisor? What is the supervisor? Less so the captain that we were wondering about who the captain might be. It seems like that's basically we'll talk about that. But I think the biggest thing of the show is like, is Jude Law a Jedi? Is he bad? Is he good? Etc. Etc. I'm interested in where you think we are in terms of Jude Law's character, Jod, and has he gone full evil and will be redeemed? Has he been doing a ruse the whole time? Like, what is your feeling about Jod? There's more to uncover with Jod. Where do you think we're going with this, Dwight?
I am kind of hoping he stays like evil-ish. I'm not a massive fan of the shoehorned redemption arc into every single show's villain. I'm just like, let a villain stay a villain and just like, I don't know, defeat them naturally with the plot, and not just like the children showed him that money isn't everything. He's been a pirate his whole life. All he cares about is money right now. We introduced the show by him killing a guy for one credit, but they didn't know at the time. It's like he threw like the pirate rating. It's like he's gonna have no qualms killing people for money. He burnt people in acid like an episode ago.
That seemingly didn't seem to work. That didn't work, did it?
Oh, he got some of them, and also the kids are just like, damn, that's crazy. Anyways, I'm just like.
People, the ones who died, it was weird that they were all wearing red shirts before they, which like you are, Dwight. If you're watching a video, you're wearing your red shirt today.
Oh no. But yeah, I'm hoping he stays kind of evil. I want to see how that resolves at the end. You know, you have a guy with a lightsaber against children and people who, in a society, probably hasn't seen battle in a long time because they're hidden. So that's going to be interesting to deal with. But you know, also the whole plot of why in God's name is welcome to our city. Here's our vault. I'm like, wait. I need processes before this.
He's a Republic emissary, Dwight.
Check his ID. Something, please.
Do they have ID in Star Wars? I know they've got like chain codes and identifying things of some sort, but yeah, I don't know if they carry wallets.
It's so tough because each different planet probably has different like IDs, and it's not, you know, there's not a problem with having IDs on our planet that like you can imagine what it's like on interplanetary. Government
must
relations.
be a headache.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with Dwight. I think it might be a little too on the nose if at the end it's like the real credits were the friends we made along the way, you know, like that might be a little too much.
I love a good villain. Like it's just like leave the villain as the villain. We don't need them to be like I don't want this person suddenly like now Jod's a part of what's his name? Not oh my god, I forgot them. I'm confusing the names.
That's
not
okay.
Neil.
There's a lot.
Not Neil, the other one.
Wim.
I'm just like, I don't need him. Like, no, now he stays behind. It's a part of Wim's life. No, he's a bad guy. Just let him stay bad.
Very bad. I think you might be right, just because he was very bad this episode. Like you could tell he was really enjoying being bad. Like there was really no question, in my opinion. I don't know. I appreciated it. It was refreshing because like it was kind of this cute like will he won't he, like what's his deal for the past few episodes, and then these last two it was really like okay. He's bad.
They cemented it. I'm just like, yeah, no, he's staying bad. It's not going to be a back and forth.
Yeah. I do think that we can. There's like a compromise here in terms of I would assume that Jod is not. I think he is the villain of this season, but he might not be the villain of this show completely. Where I feel like. This is not a ruse. This is genuinely what he's trying to do to get his hands on as many credits as possible. But I do think in the midst of whatever happens at the beginning of next episode, and I think probably we get a Jod flashback next episode in terms of really explaining how he got to this point where he's ready to basically kill children and parents all in one go, which that to me, if it's not related to Order 66, I don't know how we do. Like it just is framed so specifically in that way.
Yeah.
I do think Jod is potentially like in here as like if we do a season 2, he's much more anti-hero. Like I think that there's a chance that the kids and Jod are on the same side of whatever battle happens in the last episode, that they ultimately need to work together to basically destroy whatever, like whoever the supervisor is, whatever is happening on the planet. I do feel like that the only thing that worries me a little bit is that we're clearly saving whatever the thing is in episode 8, the reveal of who I think they're ultimately going to battle in terms of like the final episode, where I feel like all of the things that we said earlier in the season, Owen, about like whether somebody who is one of the parents could be the captain or could be involved. It does feel like it's just going to be kind of someone new, other than maybe it being somebody that's a deep pull for Star Wars fans who are more Star Wars fans than me, Owen.
Hmm. That's possible too. I did see one theory I wanted to talk to y'all about. Someone was saying maybe Tak Renid is the supervisor somehow.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
That's
the ship coming from At-Aten and being like the key and having the ability to go through the storm and navigate back to the planet safely. Like, how did he acquire said ship? Was he on At-Aten the whole time? Like, there is one theory that I was reading and I talked about with Sammy after the episode, and I was like, this maybe could be it. But then the step further is like, is he a droid, or is he like, what is happening up there in that tower? So there was a line someone had highlighted. I was saying like, when Jod arrived on the planet and he was greeted by the droids, it's like, oh, the supervisor, better than a droid, which could be foreshadowing that the supervisor is a droid all along. I'm not sure. And there's also a truck backing up, so I'm going to let one of you take it from here if you have thoughts on any of that.
Gotcha. I mean, that kind of makes sense. I guess, that if he is a supervisor, like I was thinking about it a bit as well, like he could be a supervisor, but where my reasoning fell apart is like, when did he establish himself as a supervisor? Like, was there one before him? He just kind of found the planet, then said, "This is my job now." Is he like the first supervisor? Like, I'm trying to figure out where that whole process would have come in. Like, was he the supervisor before and then became a pirate with the whole ship thing? But also, like, could be like maybe he was supervisor, went out with the ship. That's why he like had to destroy the coordinates on whatever because he didn't want anyone else finding the place. So like I'm trying to figure out how that theory could make sense all the pieces, like chronologically as well. Like, it's something else thinking about though, for sure. That'd be an interesting little plot twist.
Yeah, I think I'm still most out on the supervisor being a droid, but it's fine if it happens. Like, again, I'm not going to be like, it can't be a droid. It's fine if it's a droid. But I feel like it makes so much sense, though, and you've like really opened things up here, that the captain is Tak Renid is the supervisor. I feel like that makes so much sense, and you can see where, like, as things are happening and Jod is about to try and leave with all these credits, that like he gets stopped by the supervisor, and then that's the reveal of that's Tak. I like that a lot. I think that's really great and works for me. I do think like the ship seems to have been there for a long time, Dwight. So like there's this very funny Key and Peele sketch where they're talking and he's like, oh, I got this great new scheme that we're gonna run, and he's like, we're gonna rob a bank. He's like, okay, tell me how we're gonna do it. And he's like, all right, we're gonna get jobs, and every 2 weeks they're gonna pay us, they're gonna put it right in our bank account, like they're gonna get. And I feel like that's basically, if that's what Tak has done, has been like infiltrate and then just work up through good work and get promoted and is the supervisor. I don't know, that seems to like it does seem like the ship had been there for a long time, but I don't know if we've had like other cues on the show, Owen, about how long the ship might have been there.
Yeah, that's hard to say, but I did love the sequence where the ship like molted its skin off and then it looked flashy and new. It was awesome.
Don't touch the button that you can never touch, and then she touches it at the perfect time. That was great. That's great.
Very glad they touched the button. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, and I appreciate it. I think there are a lot of different directions where it could make sense. There are some options, like you were saying, Grace, like it being a droid the whole time, that are a little less exciting. But yeah, the Tak Renid theory I liked, just because that is a name that has been said many times on the show, and like I would enjoy, and I would enjoy that better than some random pull of Darth whoever from the comic book, novel, whatever. That's more.
You think it'd be Darth Vader? I don't think that.
Not Darth Vader. I
think that makes
some
sense.
Random person. Yeah, definitely not Darth Vader, I hope.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I do think like we could set ourselves up in a place, because I don't believe the show has been renewed for season 2. So you would assume, especially if they haven't announced it yet, that this show probably has a little bit of a cleaner ending. I don't expect this to be in super cliffhanger territory, but Dwight, I definitely could see the world where it's like, once they do the thing, Jod gets like a bunch of credits that will last him a lifetime, and he's like, all right, see you later, and like he takes the ship, and it's like you can come back and visit anytime. And then if they do season 2, you can have them be on, like, Jod is in some situation where he comes back to the planet, picks up the kids, they gotta go on another I think you can leave it in a place where they're not like, you're basically my new dad, like you're gonna hang out and we're gonna be friends. You
Right.
are a pirate, you go do pirate things, but we're here when you when you need. I feel like that's where we're headed next week in terms of Jod. I feel like otherwise I feel like we wouldn't end the episode on like, it looks like he's about to kill the children.
Yeah. I think realistically, it's probably gonna end the way you say. I'm just hoping it's more just like a straight up villain. He's the villain. He remains the villain. He ends as the villain. But we'll see where it goes. I'm praying on it just to keep him a villain.
Well, we what about our other sort of one of the villains of the show? It's a great Reddit comment about Brutus that said, wow, you're a classic Star Wars villain in the fact that you didn't really do anything, but you looked really cool doing it. That's actually perfect, though, and that's the perfect way to describe Brutus. Like, did he do anything ever? Not really. He let Jod get away, like stop getting him out of the airlock like 7 times.
right, and just unceremoniously got blasted. You know, it was pretty.
He got defeated by kids with a claw machine, and then Jod just shooting him. It's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. But yeah, no, Jod has a silver tongue. Just keep saying like, yeah, actually don't throw me out the airlock. I have another theory. I'm like, after theory 2 or 3, it's still like, get out, leave. You've done enough.
I loved that whole scene though. I thought Jude Law crushed it on that, and you can see Jod is so charismatic, and you can see how he worked his way up in the pirate world because he's got that pirate riz, you know, just like you said, Dwight, silver tongue, just like can inspire people. Like I thought the acting there was great and very energetic, but it was funny just like how many times he almost got thrown out the airlock.
Yeah, this is a great performance from Jude Law, I think. Ultimately, he gets to do, but he's very good, I think, in the scenes earlier in the season where he is like consoling the kids, like when he's talking with Wim, and then when he goes full heel turn, he is a delight. And monologuing evil Jod is really great.
Also, just a question: I haven't realized like for sure has he shown his pirate crew that he's a Force user or not? I'm not if he's been keeping an from them because he did the handcuff thing. It was like when he turned his back to them, right?
Yeah, I don't think that he has revealed that, but I'd have to double check.
Okay, like the kids know, but the rest are just like, I guess he just got out the handcuffs. It's crazy.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I don't know if he has revealed it to them, and maybe that helped him like sneakily, you know, ascend in power or something.
Mind trick them into gaining power, I guess, somehow.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's chat about the kids for a bit. We basically end them on the trap door is actually just a garbage chute. Once again, this show, like all of the things to build everything around the world, this is top notch. I feel like this is the thing that I think Star Wars is doing better than literally any other similar like franchise on television and movies right now, is all of the background stuff. So like when they pop out and they're little trash robots, it's like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. I'm loving that the trash robots who just repeat the words of the kids. No notes, perfect, great.
Yeah, the trash crabs, they were awesome. And just like the setting on the beach, and then you see the X-wings chasing the pirates at some point, like it just felt really immersive and cool. And I was proud of us, Grace. I turned to Sammy. I was like, when we saw the kids kind of splitting off and trading partners, I think you and I had speculated about this in episode like 2 or 3, being like, are we going to get a moment where, you know, we get to see development or get to see the kids interact with, you know, not their best friend? And there were moments where it definitely felt a little like, oh yeah, this is being told in a very approachable way for children. But at the same time, I did think overall it worked and the messaging was good. And I thought it, like the whole part with KB and about accessibility and how differently abled people might not like be able to communicate how they don't want to feel different, but they do want to, it being acknowledged that they are different. Like I thought it was executed pretty nicely overall, even though there were a couple moments where I was like, it felt a little like on the nose, but overall enjoyable.
Yeah, what do you make of this? We got this whole sequence with KB and Wim, where KB is like her augs are failing. They need to be cleaned, and Wim helps out. That's what do you make of this? Yeah,
I think Owen hit it pretty well. Like this is for me, anyways. Watching this is the most where I been like, oh, this is a kid, like it's angled towards kids, like this is the most it's obviously been. But I think they did handle it very well. They did a good job, not like they did kind of make it, very straightforward in what they were talking about, but I like how they handled it. I think they did a good job, And also, I like earlier in the season, I didn't really put together that they were going to lead up to the moment like this. I think they did a good job including this. They haven't how do I say? They did a good job making it a natural conversation to have in the show. Right. That's something else if they were trying to just find a way to put it in here, but it made very much sense. They set it up last episode, and now this episode is like kind of paying off. And even they set it up all season with the way Fern's kind of just been like matter of factly being the captain, and now it's like realizing, hey, maybe we should look back and see how she's been talking about it. Like we're doing X, Y, Z, considering everybody else's opinions here. I think they set this up very well to have this conversation in episode 6. So I'm happy with the writing on that.
Yeah, there's a way in which sometimes you can feel a show trying to get from point A to point B, and it feels really like messy, or it feels really clunky. I actually think this is pretty good in terms of the moment where Fern leaves is because KB has been annoyed with her not listening to her, and so they leave, and she's like, "Come on," the old basically the one character on the show who like will always listen to somebody is like, okay, and then he goes, and then that leaves Wim and KB together, and then you get this moment with Wim and KB. I thought all of that was done really well, and I really want to echo what you're saying, Owen. Like as somebody, you gotta say it for KB, comes from a queer family, and then she's basically living with a chronic condition. I'm like, wow, these are like all the things that I care about in my life. I am queer, and I have a couple chronic conditions, so like A+ on this. I think it's really good. Like, and actually there's a way in which like sometimes, so I wear a lot of like devices because I have type 1 diabetes, so I have a sensor on my arm, and I have a pump, and like I'm beeping and making sounds with it, and like it gets to the age where like with my nieces where like they get at different stages like, I think like this is how I can explain this to you right now. Like when they're very young, it's like, oh, it just gives me medicine to make me feel better. Like that's basically what I do. And then as they get older, you can explain it more. This is like, I think really great for kids to watch on television in terms of like, this is again the type of thing where I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to like try to get my niece to watch Star Wars content, and specifically this content, because I feel like it is really good, even though it's for children, but it's like, no, this is good stuff. It's stuff in here. Yeah.
100%. It's one of those, I think Dwight nailed the descriptor the way I was trying to say it. It's like, this is done for kids, but it's like, I almost took a mental note of like, this is a really great way to explain this subject matter to children. Like I would like earmark that as a reference point for like teaching my future child like how to interact with someone who's in a wheelchair, or like just not be patronizing, but also you can acknowledge it. Like, not to speak for our friend Noelle, but like I imagine she wouldn't like it if we pretended she had 2 normal legs, right? Like it's almost like I don't know. I just really appreciated the way that it was said, and I thought the young actress who plays KB did a really nice job showing the emotion and the frustration, and like I could empathize with how she might be feeling, like a mix of embarrassment, empowerment, like frustration that they can't fully vocalize what they're trying to get across. Like I don't know, I thought it was pretty nicely done, and something that I would like refer back to later in my life if I've got like a 6-year-old who I want to be a more worldly person.
Well, it's a really good way to articulate the thing. I feel like there's this thing with people talk about race when people roll their eyes at the thing of like people say, oh, I don't see the color of people's skin. It's like, oh, you're missing a big piece of what it means for there to be people of other races in like inner society, right? Like it's like, oh, it's fine for you to say you don't see it, but actually you're like removing a big piece of context for how the world works, All right. Well, they escape they do get up to the ship, but it's being thrown in a trash compactor, and they do shed the exoskeleton of the suit, which again I just thought was tremendous. And the fact that they like held up. This is a thing I say a lot about why it's like, I don't know if I want shows to think I'm dumber or smarter, but they didn't like keep mentioning the button again. Every episode they weren't like, oh yeah, make sure you don't press the button. They just like did that earlier in the show, and then by the time they needed to press the button, they pressed the button. I feel like that was very well done.
Oh yeah, I try to shoehorn that. Every episode be like, don't hit the button this time. Don't hit. Like it's just a natural. It's like, oh, I guess we'll last resort. Sure. Yeah. Like the callback, people remembered it too.
My one qualm is they did set us up for that in the previously on.
Oh well, that's I don't know.
I gotta start skipping the recaps for everything.
I do believe I have some friends who have worked in television who like a lot of like trailers and I do believe this stuff falls into it, although I'd have to confirm that is not that's not put in there by the people who then make the show. So that wasn't like Bryce Dallas Howard probably then creating the like previously on, although maybe it was. Those are often done by different folks who might not be like as involved, but yeah, they are so annoying when it's like previously on. It's like, remember this thing that I found?
Yeah,
Like, well,
exactly.
that thing's gonna be a character. You're like, hasn't been around in 4 episodes.
From episode
like,
1, hasn't been mentioned ever in the past 4 recaps.
There is a character. If people get annoyed, I will do it because we're smart and we're doing it as the podcast. But there is a character who I want to talk about later who has not shown up since they last appeared on the show, and their storyline was not over seemingly. So I want to talk about them at the end. Ultimately, I really loved episode 6, Zero Friends Again. Bryce Dallas Howard directs that episode. I think they just need to give her a Star Wars movie. Like, this was so good. It was so fun. A RHAP, and then sets us up heading to AT-ATN, where we do go. Both of them get there. What did you make, Owen, of like the puzzle to figure out how to get to, like, they get to AT-ATN, but then they like the barrier. What did you make of this? This is basically the plot of the entire episode, is how do we get to AT-ATN?
Yeah, I liked the sequence a lot. I thought it was like stressful enough, and like I wouldn't say full edge of my seat, but I was definitely perked up. Like it was fun just watching them try to figure it out and seeing Jude Law go through this. I don't want to say transformation, but him really like on a mission. Like he's really trying to get through there. Yeah, I thought it was fun, and it was reminiscent. I think I may have mentioned this, but Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the video game, there's kind of a plot point that has some elements of this as well, kind of with a hidden planet. So I was having fun with it, and I thought visually it looked really, really cool. Yeah, I liked it a lot. And 33, a star again, and Neil being super cute. The whole thing just kind of hit on every note for me while progressing the plot.
Are you a droid person, Dwight? Like, do you love the good droids, or are you like, you could take or leave the droids?
I like the droids. They're cool. Once again, I feel like this droid is like somewhat overpowered sometimes compared to other droids in the series. Like, oh, he just took out like what all the every time it's like, oh, the droid takes out all the pirates. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but it's like it's very funny to see that like a running gag at this point. I'm like, hey, droid, just knock them all out for us. Thanks, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Except for like when he gets shot one time, it's like no, it shuts down. I'm like, okay.
Well,
he was climbing up a ladder. We'll give him a break on that one.
Okay, fair.
Well, you say that, and he does abide by unclaimsies this episode, which is I didn't know that's great.
It's the hidden code in pirate law, unclaimed.
Yeah,
just didn't go into that depth in episode 1 or 2.
Dwight, you do say that he's very powerful. He does get his head chopped off this episode.
Okay, let me clarify. He's very powerful until the lightsaber comes into play.
Yeah, fair. I think this is the first time because I think to your point, Owen, about like, was I on the edge of my seat for what was happening? Like, no, like I know they're going to get through the barrier. They just have to figure out how. And like, yeah, there's stakes in terms of like what might happen. Like at what cost can they get to the barrier? Like you have to like leave someone behind, or does something happen to the ship? Like there's that type of stakes. I do think like as long as it looks incredible, I'm pretty much on board. I did think like from the beginning of the show, the like permanent Northern Lights motif is incredible. It looks so good. But then like we get to a moment where John cuts 33's head off, and I'm like literally jaw open, like, oh my god, they killed 33.
It was like, a clean cut though. Like they can put him back together.
Yeah, just reattach.
He will rise again.
Well, yes, I do agree with that. There's also one other thing that people think it tends to potentially show John is not as evil as we might think he could be, which is he does not kill the rat. He rushes the rat aside, and then
I was so scared he was gonna just step on.
No, yeah,
so
that would have been brutal. That would have been not children's show material if they had done that.
No.
I really liked the sequence with the kids watching the message from their parents. I thought that was good. Yeah. The whole Neil's sweet family. I don't know if you've listened to any of the past episodes, Dwight, but we just have like a Neil love fest every episode, just like. All good things for Neil in the world.
Same. I absolutely adore Neil. It's like nothing bad may befall this child, please.
Yes, and his little sibling. The mom was like, "We got your brother, whatever," but he just wants his brother, and I was
so cute, so cute. But I did laugh out loud when the kids were, it's like we got to do something, and then Wim just goes attack.
Great.
Very good. Classic.
I'm wondering if like the communicator. Oh, there's a fire truck outside. Hold on. Can y'all hear that?
I did
okay.
hear that.
Okay, great.
Pop in neighborhoods, both of us.
Lovely. The message that the parents sent. I'm wondering if it's going to have any further consequences besides just being used as a Jude Law to threaten their parents to the kids. Like, I'm not sure if that's going to have anything else consequence-wise, like in the whole galaxy of like episode 8. But it seems as of now it's just like a device to be like, I'm going to threaten your parents unless you listen. Which he saw them anyways. He was going to see them naturally at the end of the episode, regardless. So it's like, was that necessary to put in there? Like the whole communicator device plot line.
So with the parents, I did really love the sort of, I don't know if it's exactly the opening scene, but the scene of them being stunned and then passing I thought that's some really good just metaphor stuff, right? Of like, it takes a village, to get the communicator thing out. It's pretty good. There's a couple, I do feel like if there's not more to any of the parents, I feel like this is a little bit of like, oh, we could have done something. There's room for something else here.
Right.
I did think the line that sort of caught me, Owen, is Wendell does say like, oh, I didn't want you to find out about this yet. Like, you're supposed to wait till you're older.
Yeah.
Which I don't, even though I do feel like, I do like that it's not like they're all just oblivious. They're not like all basically just not knowing what's going on. They all understand that there's like a barricade. They're not allowed to send messages out. And obviously there's like a reason for doing that. I do feel like there has to be a little bit more with the parents. And that's the one line that gave me like, oh, there's probably a little bit more that they're going to do here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they know something. And it's almost like a weird rite of passage when they pass their exam and become an adult and graduate. It's like, okay, once you graduate and get ready to join the workforce, you're going to learn the big secret or something. It was a little ominous in that sense. So yeah, I agree. I really liked the sequence with them, passing the rock and running around. And it was a little upsetting watching all the parents get stunned. I know that's just stunned, but just the way they just like fall limp like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little unsettling.
Because I would love that metaphor to actually have happened with the kids, but I don't want the kids to be stunned. So I'm like, no. Yeah.
It would have been too much.
Yeah.
Quick note about this episode 7 too. I had forgotten Lee Isaac Chung directed Twisters.
Yes, he did.
I knew about Minari, but I didn't realize Twisters too. That's sick.
Yeah, he went a little bit, got a mainstream movie last year. I quite like Twisters. Like it's good. I think it's a good popcorn flick. So I mean, the thing about Dwight the Ad-Atten is that yes, we do see in the mint, Jod goes in and there is a ton of credits, but the piece of this that like I think is still a little bit of the mystery to me is that their Old Republic credits and Ad-Atten was so hidden, and like why is that, like what is that the purpose of keeping all of that secret? I think is the piece here with the parents that is, I think, and the supervisor probably yet to be sort of revealed, is like what's the purpose of preserving sort of the Old Republic. Yeah.
That's I'm still trying to figure that out too, to be quite honest. So the whole purpose of, like why is this all being super like, also if let's say they open up the world, hyperinflation on these credits anyways, but still I'm trying to figure out the whole purpose of this massive amount of like 1139 vaults of this. It's like, do you need that many? First of all, I think that's what I said, like 1139 on the vaults, right? That's how many they had.
Yeah, something like that. Like thousands of vaults seemingly.
Yeah.
Do you have still a theory? Like, I mean, we've been toying with this of like, I think that if it is Tack, I do think him just because there's a thing of, I feel like if Jod just steals a bunch of credits and leaves, that's like the dumbest way to get all of the credits. Instead, if you can figure out a way to continually let the ship come back and forth and just get credits whenever he needs, now that he knows how to get in and out, he would have an infinite supply of credits, which I feel like in that sense, is it not make sense that it's been the supervisor who is, done basically that of like infiltrating his way up and having control over wealth and making sure that it's kept secret. Is that the extent of it, or is there, and I get this is the other thing we talked about early on, are we in episode 8 getting any sort of like, and also this character and this thing that matters in the larger Star Wars universe?
I'm really not sure. Because we were talking a bit earlier about like this being a little more self-contained. So I do see them maybe leaving like the door slightly ajar for someone
Jar
from the
Binks.
show appearing in the Mandalorian
You want a Jar Jar
movie.
Binks in the show? Is that what you
Right.
want?
That's exactly
heard.
what I want. That's
Uh-huh.
exactly Jar Jar Binks being frozen in carbonite, somehow coming back, and Hisa is the supervisor. Yes. But no, I think you're right. I think leaving it open to where Jod has some power and not just like a finite amount of currency, I think could be satisfying. And maybe that's like his reward for helping the family fight the supervisor. So I don't know how it's going to wrap up, but yeah, I'm not sure. And my knowledge of the lore with like when the Old Republic is not perfect, but I think it is like significantly in the past. So I don't know how long this operation has been going on there.
Well, so the schism in the order, there's the Old Republic, which is basically, from my understanding, and someone will totally correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but the idea is it's that until basically Vader and Palpatine get in control. Like basically, while the Old Republic is happening, the Jedis exist, and then there's like there's a schism within it. That's what leads to Sith being able to be around, and then leading to like Palpatine and Vader able to take over. Then you get everything in the movies, and where we are now is like that has happened. Obviously, we're at the same time as Mando and Grogu, so like Luke Skywalker's out there like trying to rebuild the Jedi Order. So you think about like how long it might not have been like so long ago, but there's been enough. There was the full empire in control in between the Old Republic existing and now this new thing existing. And so we're before the prequel or the sequel movies, as well. So we're before like Kylo and Rey and any of those people. And where I feel like there's like, and that's what's a little bit tough is like, I don't know that necessarily any of these answers are fun other than they're like interesting things where it's like, could Kylo, like who could get access to money or the preservation of like this thing happening, right? That's the only piece that kind of matters. The only other thing in this world that we're going to, I think, building towards is that there is the Mandalorian and Grogu movie coming out next year. I did believe in the subtitles there's somebody speaking Huttese, which we do know that Jabba the Hutt's son Dwight is going to be in the Grogu Mandalorian movie, played by Jeremy Allen White, which we don't understand here on the podcast why they cast one of the best actors on television to play Jabba the Hutt's son, just the voice of. But
unreal, still an unreal. That's like a Mad Lib sentence.
If Jabba the Hutt's son is being funded by the credits here, I will be so happy next week. Just so you know,
it's all connected.
I'm going to be so excited. I'm going to be so happy. It would make sense why they announced the casting. We'll see. We'll
see what happens.
Dwight, anything on your list of things you want to see next episode as we head into the finale?
My biggest thing after being is just I want him to stay a villain. Like I want it to be resolved, not with he goes off with all his credits happily. Like I just want it to be a conflict and it is resolved. And ideally he's just defeated. I don't want this to be a recurring like anti-hero thing. I like a good villain. That's just how I am. But honestly, like I also would kind of want to see some kind of overarching consequence for the communication device being sent out the barrier in some capacity. Right, like if that was just the device to have the children be threatened, cool. But I'd like to see some kind of world building of, hey, there's obviously something here that was like like at an existing to some degree, people knowing it, like just even a few people knowing it exists in the grander universe now.
Should I flag this? There's a character. Do you know who I'm talking about? There's a character we have not seen in a number of weeks who was on the search for our crew. It's whatever the owl's name lady is.
Kim.
Kim. Yeah. So Kim, I think it's a very good point, Dwight, is that Kim could intercept the message and find out that. I think that could work.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought
Kim.
I'm with you, Dwight. I'm curious how they're gonna stick the landing here. And I just feel like I'm looking at just like the cast again. There's so much firepower among all these secondary characters that we haven't gotten a ton from. Like I'm curious like the percentage breakdown of what happens in the finale, right? Like how much is going to be focused on the kids, how much on Jod, how much on the parents? Because I feel like the parents' story hasn't been fully told yet. Because to Grace's point earlier, the whole little bit about like, I didn't want you to find out yet. I feel like they might reveal something about just like how much the parents do know, or like how much, like, I don't know, just like what the kids' lives were going to look like before they found the ship, and like what the deal is with the planet. Like, I wonder if that's going to be revealed. But
I think we get Jod flashback to Order 66 stuff that then leads into like how he got affiliated with TAC. So you see TAC, and then when we cut to like everything that's happening in the present day, which is funny to say for a Star Wars show because it all happened a long time ago. We then like figure out how, like, you know, Kim comes in, they all get to sort of moved around, and we ultimately reveal at some point that TAC is the supervisor. And then they have to sort of work together to be like, oh, this is like Job being like, oh, this is what he has been doing the whole time, and I'll actually help you because you guys are in danger here. I feel like that's roughly what we're getting. Sorry to like if I just spoiled the last episode.
Book it. I like that. I like it.
No. And then hopefully we'll get a renewal at some point. Would love for the show to return for a season.
Yes.
Well, I mean, maybe that's up, but maybe who's to say whether it should be come back. Is this a good one and done show? This to me feels like you could do a lot more here.
I think you could do a lot more, but I wouldn't mind a second. Like, I wouldn't mind it either way. Like, I think there's an opportunity for them to just stick the landing. It's nice. It's wholesome. It's self-contained. But I think the kids have been crushing it. I think there's an opportunity for them to like maybe revisit the other planets and figure out what's going on. Like there's opportunity. And I mean, the Star Wars universe is so big, like they could continue with it. And if they feel it's making money, they could, but yeah, I wouldn't be hugely upset either way. I don't know, Dwight, what do you think?
I mean, I think this is kind of setting up to be a nice little one and done, but I'll see how they write the last episode, right? Like if they really make this episode a really nice finale, wraps up everyone's storylines, then it's kind of better if it leaves off as a one and done. But I like Star Wars in general has such a massive universe. They can almost extend anything into like a second or third season if they wanted to be quite honest. But I have been enjoying it as like a one and done, its own unique little universe here. It'll happen and end it. But like the show is so good, I wouldn't be upset at season 2 at all.
Toughest part is that we do have child actors, and so they would. This is the tough part of like they're going to start growing up. We've seen what happened with Stranger Things, but not that they couldn't do it. They're I think Disney has a Percy Jackson.
Percy Jackson, I was thinking too. I was like, what are they going to do like in like 5 years?
Yeah, they're good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Unless there's any other final notes on episode 6 or 7, Owen.
I don't think so. Do we want to lock in any like bold predictions or like I know you, Grace, told us how you think it's all going to end, but Dwight, I know you keep saying you hope he stays a villain. Like, what do you like? What's your betting?
Well, that's his new hope. That's Dwight's new hope.
Exactly. Yeah. My like I said, realistically, I think it's going to end more in the way Grace says of like he kind of gets a lot of credit, is able to leave. Things are like it's not a peaceful resolution kind of. I think he just like gets out with credit somehow, and maybe he gets out but is caught somehow. Because also the bounty hunter that was after him, did she get brought up again, or is her storyline resolved too? The one from the resort,
Pocket. Yeah, I don't know where
she get out after they all did she go with them? I forgot what happened because like she might go be like, "Yo, this guy's like going over here. Y'all should probably catch him once he leaves the planet." So that could happen too.
I get. Well, here's what let's. I feel like we should put like a prediction on the board and something that like you feel like you can go your own way as to how confident you think it happens, but like some prediction for the finale.
He escapes, and Pocket somehow has got other people involved to capture him after he escapes, and he does not get his happy ending. He does not get a happy ending.
Does he die? Does he die, or he just gets captured?
Just captured again, back in prison.
Like exactly, it's full circle. He's back in prison where he was at the beginning.
Not and bad. Maybe that's how he meets the Mandalorian in the movie.
What about you, Owen? Do you have I have a pretty wild one. I think I could throw. Like, if we're gonna go wild, I got one. On my back.
Hit us.
Well, I feel like, I mean, he's not technically a pirate, but is there a more famous pirate pirate adjacent in Star Wars than one particular character, who the actor is appearing in a movie in the new year? He is going to be in a Marvel movie that's coming up. And so could you, at this point in the story, he would be alive and he's just on the run. My wild possible cameo is that Harrison Ford appears as Han Solo. There's no more piratey character than smuggler Han Solo. So if we're gonna go wild, let's go wild and say Han Solo appears in the show.
I would love that. I'm a sucker for Han Solo and Harrison Ford, especially after playing the Indiana Jones game over break. But I wouldn't put a lot of money on that bet, but I'd have a hell of a lot of fun if that were to happen.
Well, the other one is that if we get a Jod flashback to being around when Order 66 happens, there is another character in a movie that's set at the same time that also was a part of Order 66, which is right. Baby Grogu was at the temple at Order during Order. We've had several characters. I think Reva from one of the other shows from I can't remember which show she was in. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We've had lots of characters be around at Order 66. Turns out Anakin didn't do a very good job.
Yeah, right. A lot of loose ends. All right,
well, you got a prediction now, and you got throw something out. It can be as wild as mine or as tame.
I don't know if I have any super wild ones. I think there's going to be a connection with Tak Rened and a realization that the call came from inside the house and like how the pirate ship was an AT-AT ship. Like they're gonna.
It's very good. I think that's great.
That's gonna come together, and I won't take any credit for that being an original idea. But as soon as I read that, I was like, okay, that I could see that happening. And then I guess my other prediction would be that there's something. I don't know if nefarious is the right word, but there's more to be revealed with the kids' parents and like how much they knew or something like that. Like there's, like you said, and I haven't been able to let go of it since you mentioned it, Grace. But like. The way that line was said is like, we wanted you to find out when you're older. Like they knew something. So I'm curious to see like how that gets resolved with the kids and their parents.
As long as Neil's parents are innocent, I don't care.
Exactly.
They're fine.
Leave the space elephants alone. They can do nothing wrong.
Okay, I agree with that. That's one thing we can all agree on, that Neil must survive and nothing bad can happen to Neil.
No harm.
All right. Well, Dwight, thanks so much for joining us. Do you have anything else? Do you want to plug anything before we sign off?
No.
Twitch.tv/doingmore.
I forget. Oh God. Jesus. Yeah. I stream Clock Tower a lot on Twitch. /doing more is the handle. So yeah, I do that almost every week on Saturday and Monday for Clock Tower stuff. So.
Oh, and anything else?
Watch Dwight stream and donate to some humanitarian effort of your choice if you feel so inclined, because the world has a lot of crazy shit happening, but I'm glad we are getting new Star Wars content to at least dull what's going on.
Yeah, some escapism for sure.
Escapism,
I think that's why I need John to just not be evil, but at least completely evil. I need escapism. Yeah. All right. Well, that is our recaps of episode 6 and episode 7 of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We'll be back next week with finale coverage of the season finale of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Until then, may the Force be with you.
And also with you.